You're watching Jono's World, and this is my podcast. Hello, everyone. This is episode 2 of Jono's World. My guest is James Hutchins. James is a animal safety officer. He's someone who takes care of dogs and things, but he also recently made waves in his small religious community by coming out as a Christian homosexual. And he is walking out the pain of that. He's suffering the repercussions of that. And it's something that, knowing James before he came out of the closet, so to speak, I already knew. I didn't know he was gay. So I'm giving James a platform. He has experienced a lot of persecution. He's also experienced a lot of, encouraging people along the way, found great communities. And so I'm going to give him a stage to kind of tell his story. And hopefully some people out there can find some hope and pull from this story to encourage you along your way. So, James, where'd you grow up?
So I grew up in rural southern Kentucky, tiny town. One of those that you're from out in the middle of nowhere, so you understand the phrase of if you blink, you drive right through it. We had a small farm growing up, nothing too large, but it was in the middle of nowhere. It's a small country little town. Population probably under 100. I mean, it was tiny. 30 minutes to get to the nearest Walmart. Growing up, I thought that was the death, is having to take 30 minutes to get to grocery shop.
Right.
So yeah, it's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. So was it in Appalachia or like foothills?
It wasn't. It was more like central Kentucky.
Okay. So the plains.
Just south of like Elizabethtown. So kind of a bigger. It's probably about an hour and a half south of Louisville.
Okay.
So kind of
So
in between
listen,
Litchfield, E-Town.
it wouldn't have mattered where it was. Where I'm from, you from the city, boy.
True. I will say that I spent a few months out in Leatherwood, and that's yeah.
Leatherwood is that's a different world. We should probably at some point drive through, stop, knock on doors, interview folks, like go all the way through Little Leatherwood.
There's no telling what stories you would hear, and probably some you don't want to hear.
Oh yeah, the first time I ever went there, Little Leatherwood, I was supposed to preach at this Church of God of Prophecy, the one that Robbie Delph pastored, but this is far before Robbie Delph. This is early Jeff Sloan days, so we're talking 2004. And I get completely lost. And I wind up.
GPS don't work there. I learned that.
It's 2004. We didn't have GPS.
Well.
And so like, I don't know where I ended up, still to this day, but I was somewhere on a mountaintop with little shacks, and like I'm from Eastern Kentucky, born and raised, like from the hollers. And this place creeped me out. I did not get out of my car. I literally just did a little turnabout and was gone. Called Jeff, and whenever I got back, to civilization, because says, we don't have cell phones, and if you do, they don't work in Appalachia.
Right.
Not in 2004. And so it was like, Jeff, I was lost and I never did get found. And so, I mean, there is the boondocks, there's the country, there's Redneckville, there's Hillbillyville, and then there's Little Leatherwood.
No, I'll never forget my first trip out there. Thankfully, I had a GPS, but again, it doesn't know the roads out there. And I remember
Right?
taking same church. I remember taking my first trip out there, in my little tiny car, and going up that mountain. My car almost broke down, and then driving out to those little tiny roads, and the GPS is like turn
That
here, and
same
there
roads.
there is no road. Um, I mean, some of the nicest people I've ever met, but yeah, it's definitely an experience that I think everyone should go through.
Yeah, especially it's a good time. Like a good experience would be to go whenever everybody in that holler brought food.
I went through their homecoming one time, and the amount of food and the
Boy,
I don't remember what type of meat, but they smoked something, and let me tell you that. Mm,
listen, when you're in Little Leatherwood, don't ask. Don't ask what kind of meat it is. Just eat it. Like you might not like the answer.
I was probably glad I didn't ask. I
Yeah.
remember it was good, but yeah. I don't remember what kind of meat it was, but if I would have asked, I probably wouldn't even tried it.
Was while Robbie was there?
No, this was during Bo Simmons.
Oh, okay. So who knows? That was way after. I
Yeah,
haven't been there since 2007.
yeah.
So
This was I don't even know. Probably I don't know 17, 18, 19, maybe somewhere in there.
yeah. And so growing up rural town, how early in life did you know you were gay?
Oh, I mean, I knew pretty quick. Going through school, public school, being the oddball, all of my friends talking about, especially middle school, high school, talking about sleeping with their girlfriends, and I didn't have that urge or want to, or I was like, no, no. Um,
You
you
kind of
know,
liked his butt more than her butt.
exactly.
Yeah.
I was the one sitting in the bleachers during a basketball game, looking at the basketball players versus the cheerleaders. Um, but being in a small town in middle school, I don't think we had any openly gay anyone. So it wasn't like,
Not in
hey,
Kentucky.
right. So it wasn't like, hey, let me talk to you about, how I feel. And growing up in a small town, very religious, growing up in the church, it wasn't even let me talk to my parents about how I feel, or let me, trust a counselor. I couldn't talk to anyone about how I felt or what I was experiencing. Even through high school, that just it wasn't in high school that there was one openly gay kid, but I
Did
remember.
he did he get the absolute crud
Oh,
stomped out of him
right,
every day? Yeah.
right. Seeing the amount of hatred and I mean, it was weird because well, at the time it was weird. Now that where I am now, it's not weird at all.
Now you see
But
why, but yeah.
right, seeing the same kids that went to the FCA meeting in the morning and was holding hands and praying for each other and leading worship was the same group of kids that would corner him at lunch and bully the living crap out of him. So seeing him go through that, again, it wasn't in a position that I wanted to associate with him. I didn't want to talk to him. So I grew up knowing, but at the same time, let's just push it away. Let's hide that. I didn't have anyone to talk to.
Right. Right. And your shining example is the kid in the corner getting stomped. You don't want that smoke.
Right, right. Why do I
Like,
want that? Why do I want to put a target on myself?
and plus, what time frame is this? Like years wise.
So that would have been Middle school would have been around 2008, 2009. High
Okay.
school 2012,
So
however that math
the
works.
that would have been right about the time where the awareness was beginning to take place, where like post 90s, it's okay to call gay people whatever you want to call them. It's where that's right about the time it starts dialing back. But at the same time, you got to remember where you are. That's not going to dial back for another 10 years there.
Right, right.
you know,
I mean,
um,
even still now,
even today.
I wouldn't dare go back to my hometown or any of that area and dress openly or have my nails painted or my nose pierced. I still
Yeah,
wouldn't even feel comfortable there. Um, and we're X amount of years past forward, so it's just that small town mindset that it's great and all, but it's definitely not welcoming.
yeah. And so you did what a lot of the, Bible Belt, small town, secluded, um, gay kids do. You went gung ho after religion. I imagine, trying to rid yourself of this thing that you probably yourself considered a plague, I'm guessing.
Oh yeah, fully.
Like, like, am I right to say you probably thought you had demons? You probably
Oh
thought
yeah.
you were oppressed. You probably thought you were broken and nasty and like these horrible like thoughts. Like, take me through that. Like, how is that as you're trying to beg God to take it away?
Oh yeah. Growing up in the religious circles and even pursuing full time ministry and wanting to go that avenue. That's the only community that I knew and the only
Exactly.
direction that I knew. Um, you know, I there was nights where I cried myself to sleep. How in the world can I feel this way, but still, again, being in a lot of these circles and being in a lot of the inner circles where I would listen to the pastor preach on Sunday, we would all go out to lunch somewhere, and then they would make
Mm-hmm.
fun of people or you know call the gay people fags and things like that, or you would see on TV or something, and even my parents who that's disgusting and that's a disease, and so again it's do I have demons, and there was even times during like revivals I would find myself, I wouldn't dare tell anyone what, but I'd find myself at the altar crying and praying and repenting and saying, God, why am I like this? And this is so wrong. And, but, I'm made in your image. Like, I'm so confused about, why, like, why do I feel like this? Why do I have these
Mm-hmm.
feelings, but yet you're not taking it away? And then you get into
Right.
whole of, you know, hold on, let loose, people praying for you. And it's like, well, what? Like, and then here we are, fast forward, and still the way I am.
Still the way you are. And so, you're going through how many years would you say you spent spinning your wheels like that?
14.
14. And in this process, did you confine in any pastors that, you had these like same sex feelings and things like that?
Lord, no. Sorry to be blunt, but no way, no.
All right.
Um, I didn't trust anyone with that intimate, and we'd always hear in services where God knows what's going on deep down within, and you don't have to say anything, blah blah blah, and
You would answer those.
right, I was like, okay, yeah, okay, we'll try this again, and nothing would change.
I
And
saw you answer a bunch of those.
I don't know what you're talking about. um, but even while we were, serving together and at church, I would lay on my face for hours and cry out like, why do I have to deal with this? Why do I have to fight this? Why, if it's so bad and so wrong and blah blah blah. And I always found it funny. I mean, I still laugh about it that I would get all these like prophetic words from all these, big ministers that are out there, but never once was it about, anything struggle that what I thought was a struggle. Like never. It was never one on one. It was never brought up. And again, so it put me in that place. Okay, if it is so bad, so wrong, so just so disgusting and such a big sin, then why? Why?
Why isn't God helping you, and why isn't He telling people to help you?
Right. I mean, when I felt alone and at my lowest, and God's telling me, "Oh, you're going to do this, and you're going to travel here, and you're going to get to see this," I'm like, "That's great and all, but what about this thing that I'm fighting deep down within that no one knows about? Like, can you send me someone to help with that? Can you help with that? Can you take it away?"
Right, right, absolutely, and of course, like no. And there's going to be people in the comment sections, especially right about now, that are going to be talking about deliverance and that it's a demon and all of this kind of stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say, you know, your your comments are falling on deaf ears here. For me and him both,
Yep.
your comments are
100%.
absolutely falling on deaf ears. Um, and so you're going through this struggle. For me, um, the only thing I can kind of, as someone with autism, I always knew my brain was completely different than anyone else around me. And I
Mm-hmm.
would try to explain it to people, and no one would pay any attention to you. And, you're in southeastern Kentucky, they're not going to catch level one autism. Not in the school systems in the 90s or anything like that, but I always
Right.
felt just very distinctually different. And I remember spending all those same kind of hours like fix my brain, fix my
Right.
brain, fix my brain. Um, and then, once I got my autism diagnosis, I was like, oh, I was born this way. And I, and I imagine, when was that moment for you where, you know, you went, oh, I was born this way, and it was just like settled.
So I found myself doing animal rescue. I found myself in what I now look back as that I thought, oh, the devil pulled me away from church and blah blah blah, and I got out of church for a little over a year, um, and I thought it was so bad and so wrong. But during that year, it was the start of not spiraling like I thought I was, but finding my true self.
Yeah.
That was in 2019, 2020. Um, I was back and forth, out of rescue, in rescue, working animal control, traveling, moving around, with working with animals, and so I didn't really have or want the desire to really plug into a church.
And at the
Um,
same time, we're going fishing. We're cleaning and cooking squirrels in my kitchen.
right.
Like, you're not, just so people know, like, you're not you were not a flamboyant um individual. Like, you were doing very manly things. Like, I saw you eat squirrels.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, still, I like to go hunting. I want to, as soon as I get money to buy a crossbow again, I want to go deer hunting. I was hunting, fishing, hanging out with people, doing those activities. We would fish all night and have a fish fry in the morning.
Yep.
But it wasn't until I tried to get after the whole animal rescue escapade and all that kind of. I did my year long run with that. That I tried to plug back into the church. That pastor with that church said, "Hey, you can't work with animals and serve God and be in ministry." And I said, "Well, here's my key to the church." I packed up my guitar and left. And it was that night, last year, 2020, 2022, um, that really started the wheels turning on. Maybe this is just who I am, and maybe people are going to need to accept me for me, and it's time to stop hiding. Well, a couple weeks after that, I went to the my first ever Pride event drag show in Jeffersonville on the river, and I
What a
saw
place to go.
right. I just jump right on in there. But I saw
With
such
all
a
farmers and I mean,
right. Well, and the funny thing is I'm at this Pride event, and up on the bridge above me are the same people who I used to attend church with that are, having their megaphones, "You're all going to hell," and doing that whole spiel. But inside of this event, I saw such a loving community and people, having fun. And I felt welcomed, and I felt like I could be, this true me that I felt for years and just express me. So after doing that event is when that put me in a position to where do I truly just become who I know that I am
mhm.
and face the consequences, or do I just need to disappear and frankly just kill myself and move on? And I mean,
So how'd that process go? I mean, you're still sitting here clearly,
well, I'll
but
say right,
like,
I'm still here. So that led
so
to
like you're in a position, so like, you have all this religion that is saying like, James, you're gonna split hell wide open, like hellfire and brimstone for you, buddy boy, no
Mhm.
other options. You have that, and then you have the desire to, fit this mold, but then you have who you are,
Right, right. It
and
was
that's too much to bear.
right. Say I had got to the point mentally, physically, emotionally. Like I couldn't anymore. I couldn't put on the mask and move around anymore. I couldn't. Like I couldn't. I had to come to terms with this is who I am. People are gonna hate me, and it is what it is. They'll have to move on. But this is me.
Right.
So at first I wasn't really gonna do anything. But I ended up, that night laying in my bed in good old Louisville, Kentucky, and making my posts, making my coming out announcement. And it was Pride Month of all months. It was June of last year that I decided, you know what, I've got to be me, and I took that leap.
There you go. And how was that post? I didn't see it. What year was this again? What
Last year.
last year? All right. So I was in all kinds of turmoil last year. That's why I didn't see it. My first, I remember I wasn't on Facebook for months on end, and then I remember opening Facebook one day, and you were doing some sort of show, and I was like, "Well, we have went from 0 to 1,000." And I was like, "Well, good for you, James. You finally did it." So how was that initial post? Because your entire Facebook community at this point is religious, all of them.
Oh yeah, yeah. They're
Well, it looked 98%.
yeah.
98%. Probably a few people you met here and there that were, in your DMs, but like for the most part, it's all a religious community.
Right, and I mean that's the only community that I knew was
Same for me.
people
Yeah.
involved in church, and and this wasn't just like I mean, I'm talking like across the country, ministers and people who were
From
leading
Arizona
music
to
and
Kentucky.
right, like everywhere.
Yeah.
So I make this post, and immediately, I had a couple rescue friends that um, they're family. They'll go up to bat for me for any day. And I made that post, and immediately, I'm talking like in a matter of less than 5 minutes, I had people in ministry like commenting about killing myself, and that I'm worthless, and that you know God didn't use me. I made everything up, and blah blah blah. And I mean, the list just goes on. And then finally, they started chiming in and going back and forth. And I mean, it started like it was World War III on my Facebook. So I slowly started going through and deleting people and removing them, and because again, I was just at that point to where I don't care. Like I have to come to the conclusion this is who I am, and you're gonna get over it. Um, but seeing
So,
the
go
oh, go
ahead.
ahead. Oh, so seeing the amount of people who I thought was, I mean, pastors of churches that I thought was this loving and perfect, well, not perfect, but I mean, like this example, and would talk about love on Sundays, and were the ones who were coming at me that, oh well you're this and you're that and you'd be better off dead. And because in my post I said that I was at the point of either killing myself or just coming to terms, and their comments were, oh, you'd be better off dead. And I'm like,
Okay, so let's talk about that. You post this. Hey, this is who I think I've always been. It's been a struggle from the beginning. I am thinking about offing myself or just embracing who the heck that I feel like that I've always been and
mm-hmm,
have just been running from. All right. And their response as Christians, as people who love your neighbor as yourself, as people who, you know, love kindness to God, lead you to repentance. If your friend asks for bread, give it to them. Their response was off yourself.
right. Right. True love. True love.
True love. That's true love right there. James, we love you so much that we wish you were dead instead of gay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then how many messages after that did you get that was claiming that you had a demon?
Oh, I can't even count the number of messages, text messages, even calls. I got to the point where I wouldn't even answer phone numbers and calls because it was the same thing. It was, hey, where are you at? We can come pray this out of you right now. Blah blah blah. We need to surround the house and pray over the house you're in because you picked up this demon and the new house you moved in, and I mean so on and so like there was even mentions of, oh well, the kids that we prayed for at church camp that were gay, the demon jumped out of them and jumped into you, and we're gonna have to pray you through, and just meet us at the church. We can take care of this. Or yeah, no, it was my entire like messenger feed and text and calls and
So,
that.
knowing what you knew about me back in the day, whenever the first time you saw me pop up, the first, like, did you get nervous?
I did when you met, because like we hadn't talked in a while, and
And
you
I
know
was
I
not, I was not open about my liberal views at all at that point when you
right.
knew me.
So here I am at work. I don't know. I might have been at the bar. I was out somewhere, and I looked on my watch, and I saw your name come up that you had messaged, and I was like, oh God, here we go again. Like I thought this has all died down, but because I mean I still have people who, I mean,
Oh, they're still
even
coming at you. Yeah.
right, even right before this podcast, people were messaging me and hey, you really should really think about repenting. It's time to come back to Jesus, bro.
Yeah,
And
you sent me some screenshots.
right, and I'm like, go back in your little hole and just live there. Like, leave me alone.
And that's why I'm giving you this opportunity on this podcast to tell them that. And I agree with you. Internet keyboard warriors, we don't care that you don't like that James is gay. His gayness has no effect on your ability to eat, sleep, breathe, use the bathroom, go to work.
Nope.
Nothing. Has zero effect on you at all. James, do you have an agenda as a gay guy to um, change all the kids and make everyone gay?
Only if it worked like that. Sadly, it is not.
So, so
It's
so it's not a contagious demon that like I'm going to get it through the screen.
no. I don't care how many pastors and people continue to say
Okay,
that this demon jumped in you, and
just
no,
checking.
it it don't work like that.
Okay, it's not going to get in my headphones.
No.
Okay, okay, cool. Just making sure. Just making sure how. See, I even like I've had the same messages, and I'm not even gay. Like I'm just liberal,
Right.
or yeah, liberal. Call me liberal. I fit the liberal bill. I'm for gay people. I'm for trans people. I'm for Black Lives Matter. I'm for a basic income equality. Women and men deserve the same pay.
Agreed.
Like women, they should have a right to their own bodily autonomy.
Agreed.
So we're liberal. There. So Facebook world, Spotify world. If you're wondering where we stand, if you haven't figured it out already, that's where it is. Because I get text messages on a regular basis. My autism is a demon. You know, I get sent video clips of people being healed of autism.
Oh,
Um,
yep. I get those all the time too.
I delivered of homosexuality.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, they're lying.
I agreed. I actually had that back when I was trying to defend and actually try to make reason with these people. I was they would send me a video and I'm like, oh, is that why that person that supposedly got delivered ended up killing themselves 3 months later?
Right, right. I mean that's and and just so you know, like if you were to add for someone like you, if you were to add a level of being autistic to the equation, the suicide rate or well unalive rate, so we don't get nailed, is over 50%.
Oh yeah. We just did a competition here locally, and one of the organizations that I chose was the LGBTQ Youth Center, which sent me down the path of looking at, you know, as you call it, the unalive rate for LGBTQ youth, um, and it was like 48%. And I was like, I was shocked. I was like, it's crazy how people are okay with that and not trying to
It's
certain
insane.
people or make motions.
And they continue, yeah, and they continued to pass laws that make it harder for kids to get help, that make it harder for counselors to be able to properly work with people who are
Hmm.
in these situations. And like for instance, if you have a mental health problem, like for instance, I have autism, um, and if I was to want a gender change, my mother, because I have autism,
Hmm.
could take away my autonomy
It's so wrong.
and claim that I was crazy. And it's just like there is in no world is that Canada the UK, like if I wanted to move there, I would have to prove my economic worth because I have a mental health condition.
Wow.
I couldn't just, do a normal work visa, go find a job like a normal immigrant to one of those places. I would
Mhm.
have to have like how I'm going to contribute enough to, they can deny me entry just based off having autism.
Wow.
And so I find it relatable in a lot of those ways, but getting back to, coming out and those initial days, how long, I mean, it's still going on, but what did you do to people listening and like, they're like, well, I just posted that or I'm about to post that. Um, what did you do to break away from that toxic Christianity?
So,
Because
thankfully,
you didn't leave your faith, not totally.
right.
Um, what did you do though to like you're blocking people and things like that? But what did you do internally to click that off and be like, you know what, screw you guys, I'm gonna go toe to toe with you.
Right. It was hard. Again, that being my entire like circle, it was basically like cutting.
Everyone you knew.
Right, yeah, cutting away everyone, friends, family. Well, family they kind of took care of themselves. I mean, but I lost everyone that I knew, everyone that I associated with. Um,
And a lot of them are going to see this because they're on my page.
well, God, God,
No, I want them to see it. Like,
God.
James is not the one that needs to repent. It's the ones that freaking treated James like crap that needs to repent.
Oh,
Like,
agreed.
that's if anyone needs to repent, it's those dudes. It's the people that would rather kick you out into the cold and watch you burn forever, um, than like keep on being your friend.
Right.
It's ridiculous
Oh,
based
and
off of who you like.
right. And I mean, I've had people, I mean, friends that I thought were my friends that I come out and then instead of being friends, disown me, block me, move on, and it there for a while it hurt. Um, but going through that sent me on a. I was like, I have to get out. I have to go somewhere where they don't know me, somewhere where I can get the chance to be me without being judged, without being hated, and I can truly kind of I don't want to say start new, but in a way start new and create a new identity.
Yeah,
Being me. So it sent me down a path where I
somewhere where every church in the whole city didn't know you.
right. Right. I mean, yeah. So, I packed up and I left Kentucky. Um, I left everything.
Yeah,
um, had to get away. That was my only per se safe, because
saving grace.
I had only I had the people who were saying what they were saying, so I had to get away. I had to get somewhere where I wasn't constantly feeling like no matter where I go, someone's looking at me, like I'm trash. Um,
Right.
so I packed up and I left.
And do you want to say where you went or no, so they don't bother you?
I mean, I've went ahead. I mean, I'm in Northern Ohio now, so it's from.
What a place to pick. I mean,
I mean, the end goal is probably somewhere coastal or, um, I mean, not being gay. I would love San Francisco, but
bro,
prices out there and things just
Virginia Beach. I know 20 gay. I get hit on every single day. I get
well.
hit on every single day here. So like, just come here. We have a beach 15 minutes away.
Oh, see.
There's literally like, I don't know, 2 miles from my house. Every Friday night, the bar turns into a trans bar. It has these huge parties. Um, it's bro, Ohio. Come on. I mean, I get that you were in Kentucky and it's just right there, but still, you went further north. The coast was the same distance. The coast was the
True.
same distance, just so you know.
True.
And so you went up there. You're still doing the animal stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And what are you trying to do there? Like, what are you building out?
I've taken I moved up here August of 2022, so last year. So I've been here a little over a year. And really, I'm just going through. I mean, still figuring out who I am and what do I like? What do I want to do? I mean, I found an amazing community who is the example of what the church should be. They're
Right.
more than willing to help people out. Times where I've needed groceries or something, they're right there. Hey, here this is, and it blows my mind because I think about all the times being involved in the church and needing help with bills or gas money and I couldn't get it. No one. The churches it wasn't possible. They were like
Unless you repent of that homosexuality, you ain't ever gonna be blessed, brother.
right. Well, and see, don't even get me started on that. I mean, because that's where my mindset was, I'm dealing with this demon and so God's not gonna bless me and send me this, finances that I need. And now I'm in this community where we're constantly helping each other and if they need groceries or I need groceries and Friday night we're all coming together and doing like a dinner party thing and it's very family oriented and it's amazing. That's just a little over a year that I've been here, and between that and working with a city that doesn't really have much in forms of animal control and revamping their program and helping the animals. I mean, it keeps me between that and, like I said, the bar and everywhere else that that our little group is, it keeps me busy.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And so, what would you say to someone who's watching this? Say, you know, I have, if on Spotify and things like that, I have the explicit turned on, so like nobody under 18 is supposed to watch my thing. So, 18-year-old Christian is watching this. They've been gay since the day they were born. Um, they're about to make that post. They're thinking about making that post. Conversion therapy is being pushed on them. What do you say as someone who just walked it out, still walking it out? Because figuring out who you are once you leave that that intense religion, because you were in the Pentecostal holiness, like this was an identity.
Right.
Like once you leave that, there's a giant void of who you are. So what advice, what warnings do you have to someone who's about to make that journey?
It's it's not easy. Even after making that post, coming to realization of this is who I am. Even after leaving Kentucky and moving north, I mean, still, like you said, there was that whole void. I everything that I knew was revival and church and Bible study and fellowships and I mean that was life. And now I've cut my well, not by choosing, but my entire social network is gone. The people that I once confided in and talked to are gone. The people who were, hey, let's go fishing are gone. I had no one. So then that void begins to creep back in, and of course, oh well, it's loneliness, and there's other demons coming in. I've already heard that too. Um, so
Yep.
definitely in everyone's life you're going to have to come to the conclusion of this is who I am.
Yep.
it's a way we're born. I looking back on my life, I wish I would have come to the conclusion earlier. But also looking back, I know that I wasn't in a safe place to do so either. So, for people who are wanting to take that step and make that post or come out and be who they are, make sure you're in a safe spot to do so. There's countless times where I see stories of 17, 18-year-old are in that religious atmosphere. They're in church, their parents are ministers, and they make that post or they talk to their parents, and immediately they're shoved into conversion therapy, or they're kicked out of the house. Then they don't have anywhere to live. So you have to. I know that we get to that point where we want to come out and when it's exciting, but we have to do so safely. Um, Not all places are going to be welcoming and accepting of that. So you can't jeopardize yourself. You can't put yourself in a situation to where you come out and risk your life with it.
Right.
There's places in certain areas that still, I won't paint my nails. I won't, if I know, especially like road, if I know that I have to go back down to Kentucky, I dress very well, as straightly as I can, and go, because still it's not accepted as it should be. Um, there are churches out there and communities out there who are welcoming and are accepting.
And they're going to
Um,
be on here in future podcasts, just so you know. I'm going to have a few gay pastors and stuff like that
good,
on here.
good. I mean, because trading those communities is one. Personally, and with me, there's so much trauma and so much just that I went through that if I think about going to a church, like I went down to Florida for a vacation in February, and there's one of the big churches down there, and I was like, haven't been to church in a while, I'm just gonna stop in.
I talked you out of it.
Right, just to stop in, but the amount of anxiety that I had, like I couldn't even enjoy my vacation because I was so
Right.
concerned about walking in and the looks and blah blah blah. So it's not always about coming out and immediately finding that accepting group. Um, I'm not per se actively involved in a church. I don't want to be. I
You don't
My
need to be.
anxiety and just I personally I can't be there. I can't do that. For someone who's considering coming out and wanting that, those options are out there. They are great options. I have, even since coming out, there's a spirit filled accepting church. It's 2 hours away. It's in Columbus. I've attempted to try to go down, attempted to try to plug in, and again, the amount of anxiety on those drives and just, I can't. Um,
Right.
so if you're gonna take that step and you're in that type of atmosphere and you're gonna come out, it's not gonna be a
Do it
cakewalk. I
safely.
mean, it's gonna be rough. So you got to prepare yourself mentally for that.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And even, this when this one drops on Facebook, comment section is going to be fun.
I agreed.
No, but that is good advice. It's like, make sure that your settings, is conclusive for you to be safe. Um, because it isn't, plain and simple, like, it isn't safe yet. And
Right,
part of that reason that it's not safe yet is primarily religious extremism.
right. I
I
mean,
mean, the amount of flack that you've gotten, what percentage? I mean, I know you're not looking at all your messages and going, "Oh, I have 500 messages in this many." Rough off your head, how many of the hate mail that you have gotten has been religious?
98%. I mean, there's your couple messages from just random
Hillbillies.
people that I knew that was straight and thinks,
Yeah.
"Oh my God, what is wrong with you?" but
Did you hit your head?
right, like 98%. But even with those messages, it was nope. It's just who I am. They were like, oh well, okay.
See, but
But you know,
that's different. That's like them being shocked by it,
right. But
and
90.
then they're okay. But like I'm talking about like the bigotry messages.
Oh yeah, no, still 98. I mean,
Yeah,
it was hate, 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 hate. You know, that's why you
hate and hate.
have pride events where you have to have literally the entire police force because I tell people you have even here they do a big outdoor Christian concert. You don't see the gays and the drag queens lining up and standing out front and being this person, but yet we can't have an event and enjoy ourselves without.
Well, and that's the thing that drives me crazy about you know is Christians are like, well, why do they have to have their events and why do they have to hang their flags up? And it's not, and it's like Joel Osteen does this every week.
Hmm. Yeah.
Like in a massive stadium with banners and TV commercials. They have entire networks dedicated to it.
Hmm.
Like, I mean, come on. Like, you're going to get mad at a parade and a rally and a
Right.
month when you have every major holiday, when you have
Right.
you have a day of the week that like places shut down because of your religion. Like you have
Right.
the most influential and honored custom in all the land, and you're going to get mad at a few hundred people gathering together who are constantly discriminated against and told that they're less than human because their sexuality is different than what they think sexuality should be.
Right.
The insanity and the hypocrisy of that just blows my mind.
Right. Well, I mean that's why
They
when
have Christian pride events every Sunday morning.
right, agreed. But that same morale is why whenever I made the post and hey, this is who I am. People who are involved in churches. I'm talking even because even though all the hate, but yet there's still the pastors who are messaging, "Hey, I have this feeling. I've had this feeling. I know it, but I don't have anyone." Or the kids who, well, not kids anymore, but hey, we worked church camp together, and I've felt this way for a long time, and seeing you take this step is really encouraging, and I'm kind of in that same place where I feel like I need to, but I can't. But I feel like I need to off myself. It's because the same thing. The way that the church presents themselves is not as this loving person. Everything that they talk and teach about. If that was the case, I could have talked to people growing up, and it wouldn't have been a problem.
Exactly. 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 All right. So we are running out of time. I'll hit stop on this in just a second. We both have to stay on so that it uploads, and then I'll go on and do all my editing stuff. But what is your Cash App for those listening if they want to send you something to help you along your journey? Mind you, James left, like me, left everything when he left religion. No, I didn't do it because I was gay. I did it because I just don't really believe in it anymore. Um, what's your Cash App so that people can, send you $5, $10 if they can.
Yeah, definitely. It is ACO James,
ACO James.
Animal Control Officer James.
Oh, there you go. All right. Well, I'm going to hit stop on this, guys. There'll be weekly episodes coming up. We are going to have some very, very interesting guests, some Bible scholars, some gay pastors, some conversion therapy survivors, um, some athletes, you name it. We got a coal miner coming on talking about it, what it's like living, working underground. So, real diverse group of people. But take it easy. We'll see you guys in a week, and over and out. Thanks for hanging with us that long. There's ways you can support me and my guest in the comment section.